pretty much.
All right. Always fun. Always fun. All right. So welcome to the God, what we got? 15th
15.
15th Sacrament podcast. I'm gonna start ignoring chat because these guys are crazy as shit. Check's here to tell me if I'm missing anything anyway. So
It's nothing
um
important. Just Adora.
yeah, it's just Adora. So last week we talked about forums, faction,
Factions.
and we put down the reminder for the raid, or yeah, the raid contest. It's last week of voting, so which
Hmm.
went in. That's done, and if you haven't seen it on the forums, well, even if you have, we'll be putting it out there today. The winners have already been announced, so if you're watching this and you're wondering when the hell you're going to be, or not announced, contacted, if you're wondering when the hell you're going to be contacting, um, what's his name?
Your English is as good as mine today.
GGQF has already reached out to you. I noticed because he told me so. So I know I don't know what's going on. See, Crave
Yeah,
cusses and I get it all of it,
yeah. I see it. I see all of it. I don't know what's going on,
all
but
of it.
okay.
I don't. We got a mature rated freaking channel and it's being immature on us, bastard. So, which has never really made sense. If
Nope.
swearing is considered mature rated, then why is it immature for me to swear?
We're not starting this conversation again.
All
Not at all.
right, all right. So, flyover video. I've been informed that the final bits are being done, and the final bits is really just the pathing of the NPC that's going to be walking through the world. Essentially, what you're going to see in the world as you're walking through it. Um, yeah, so I think I'm going to start taking the forum life and the social media life off there for now because there's nothing to talk about. I don't want to
No.
say there's nothing to talk about every damn time. So there's that. All right. So today, Check wanted to. I may be getting set up for this. I don't really know. This is kind of what
No,
I
it's
brought
not
Check
going to
in
be
here
that
for.
bad.
So,
I
well,
promise.
that's what you say,
Sort of.
but I mean, I like pain, so I don't know.
Well, is that where we're going with this? Okay.
So there's that. Balance essentially. And why are people on? Adora sent me something.
Well, she's sending us pictures to prove that she's actually swearing.
See, she's got you. She she's got you lit up as well as asterisks. I don't know what that is, man. Twitch just don't like us, homie. All right, I believe you, Adora. I believe you.
I don't.
Check doesn't, but Check doesn't believe
I'm a
anybody.
dick.
That's
Nope,
his
I don't.
personality.
Not at
Like
all.
it's why he's here because he doesn't, fuck the law and all that shit. All right, so balance and not the general kind of discussion. As you can see, I've got one of our documents opened up, one that I've showed you before. It's nothing you're not gonna see elsewhere, something you haven't already seen. On top of that, as this is really the sheet that we use to outline our class skills that we put out there as we release the classes. So you're not going to see anything here that isn't already being displayed. Um, all right, check. So what you got for me, boss?
Okay, you guys released PvP, so we'll start with, I guess, what I know best in MMOs. You're running leaderboards and all that fun stuff. Like that's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be awesome. But at the end of the day, how's it going to be balanced, and what are you gonna balance for? Because in every game, when it's a person against person, skill gets put into it of the player playing. So can't really counter for that because everyone plays differently. But at the same time, since there's going to be so many different game modes of PvP, what are you going to balance towards? Because classes play differently in every single category, and to be completely honest, being balanced in one category is going to be a step up from what everyone else has. It's going to be pretty fucking hard to do more than one just because of it's a game. There's people playing it. People are dicks. People figure out how to do silly shit. It happens. So
So first thing is what you had mentioned about player skill, right? I feel like a lot of games try to balance for player skill, but you can't. You can never balance for player skill. I think they try to help out the less skilled by adding in certain abilities. And let's be honest and open about something first and foremost is no matter what ability you put in, a person with more skill, more fundamental understanding of the meta, did I say that wrong? Meta
it's
game.
meta.
Um, they are, I don't know why the fuck I said it like that. I really don't. They are always going to find out how to best utilize that ability before anybody else, and by the time somebody catches up, they're going to be leagues ahead. So when it comes to balance for us, it's more about looking at the class itself. The how does the class play on an overall scale? So imagine God, we'll go back to Diablo 2, right? When you're sitting at the character select screen and you've got one character highlighted, the rest are in the shadows, and every time you click on another character, the other one goes in the shadows and the other one steps forward. That's how we're approaching balance in this game as we're looking at individuals. Trying to mass balance everything is only ever going to cause problems. It's a
Yeah.
conversation Wicked and I had probably about a 2 hour conversation. We were both saying the same things. We were saying them differently, but the conversation was, and this is I think this is something everybody's really noticed, maybe. Um, what'll happen is developers will people aren't using this weapon because it's just not efficient, so they'll increase all the weapons in that general category. Well, this one class was using this weapon on an exponential level just because it was really made for that specific class. And so what happens is when you adjust it so that all the classes can use it on the same level, that one class is still better with that weapon.
Yeah.
Now, before that adjustment was made, that class was still on par with the top classes. But now that you've made that adjustment, that has become the OP class. Now that class can't be fucked with no matter what you do until you fix it. So you've effectively broken your balance by trying to do a global patch. Instead, we're looking at these as everything starts out with a DPS number and then going from there because everything in one way or another has to compete in dealing damage. But if let's say I've got an ability that does 100 damage, and then that's we'll go with the assassin, right? The assassin's a raw DPS, as you see on this list right here. He's a 10-point DPS, and our scale is right now is a 10-point scale. It gives us a very visible way to look at the chart. Okay, so our assassin is 10 points allocated into DPS. The bard, let's say, well, let's go with something more clear cut. Here we go. Thief, right? Thief has an ability. We'll call it a very similar ability. So assassin is stab. Thief has poke. Poke does 100 points of DPS, but it also, I don't know, maybe it mesmerizes the
Makes them,
target,
yeah,
right?
some
Maybe it
shit.
CC would also go, debuffs would go into CC. So maybe they debuff the target. Well, now that's imbalanced, right? They're both doing 100 points, but the thief has an additional effect on there that the assassin can never gain. So the idea here was if we're going to add these elements onto it, then we need to take away from other elements that are on it. So we put a total allotment scale by number on every ability, every piece of gear, every rune in the game, everything that a player can touch. We put a point allotment on it, and we've said at no point in time can it go above these points. But it must, depending on its tier, it must meet these points. So a tier 5 ability may have 5 points to it that you would assign.
Hmm.
What would happen is that thief now, having 6 points in CC and only 4 points in DPS, the proper weightage of that would actually bring that damage down to about 40 points, depending on the strength of the CC effect in reality. And then it would bring that CC could really stay the same. It could still debuff the same amount that it was before, but the damage will come down. So that debuff's not some. Now the debuff is a primary effect on that ability, and the damage is only a secondary. The damage is something it's almost an aftermath, but it's about the balance. If we just had the debuff, it would have to be a massive debuff. It would have to be
Yeah.
equal in total value to 100 points of damage. If we're gonna look at it like that, it would have to equal in total value 100 points of damage per hit from anybody coming in. So if somebody's pushing, I don't know, let's say two assassins are fighting each other, and the thief, let's say the thief was 10 points CC, no DPS, and he did that debuff should be able to compensate for that 100 points of damage loss by allowing what do we got? A ranger is also 10 points DPS, but a ranger doing another 10 points of DPS. Now, when we look at this, the assassin is now 1-on-2, right? In reality, if we're a pure DPS game, that's two classes that are doing 100 points of damage per attack, and one class doing 100
Single
points of
100.
damage per class. Outside of skill, the abilities should never ever outbalance each other. They should always be comparable to each other. So I guess that's a really rough look at how we're
Yeah.
approaching the balance.
No, it makes sense though, because it's best way to do it. Because outside of player skill, like you said, you can't counteract for that. You just gotta keep it pretty much as simple as you can. Because the more complicated you get, the more shit you have to deal with. At the end of the day, you're just like, what the fuck's all this? So,
And
uh,
when it comes to the PvP aspect, our entire game's primary balance is PvE related.
yeah,
Obviously,
that's a good.
raids. I've said it a million times. It is far easier to balance for raids and come back down than go the opposite direction. Um, when it comes to the PvP aspect, players don't have the same health values as a raid mob, or most typically
Mhm.
they don't have the same health values as a random NPC mob throughout the world. They've usually got far less, or maybe less resistances or innate resistances, and there's a lot of things that the players are being held back on because we don't want the players to be gods and we want them to be challenged in the game. Um, so when it comes to the PvP versus PvE abilities, there are differences. The beauty of us starting at a minimum scale for us to work with is we could take PvE and increase that scale over here, and then take PvP and increase that scale over here, and have them adjusted this way, and they're still capable of being balanced. And at that point, when we have an ability that's functioning incorrectly in PvP, it will not affect any. If we make a change over here, it's not going to affect changes over in
Affect the other
PvE.
side. Yeah.
So they are being treated as, you can almost look at, we've got double the amount of abilities as you're going to see in the game, because we have to treat them as such. So every time you go into PvP, your character is being flagged all around. I mean, all around. Everything is being flagged for PvP and is being adjusted. EQ1 and EQ2 actually did that. I think EQ1 or EQ2, I mean, used to be able to click on an icon. Maybe that was Rift. You used to be able to
It
click on
was
a
Rift.
box
It
in
was
the
Rift.
ability,
Yeah.
and it would show you what it would do in PvP. It's the same
Yep. That's Rift.
type of approach that we're taking on. Because every time you adjust for PvE, you're affecting PvP and vice versa. And something you really like the way it works in PvE, but it doesn't work the right way in PvP, you're never going to have synergy here, ever. And I think this is something a lot of players don't understand, a lot of developers don't understand. You can never have synergy PvE and PvP. You can utilize the same abilities, throw all the same classes in, but you're going to have to treat it differently. Otherwise, as a bard, I'll probably wind up having another CC buddy that I duo with on harder shit, because the way that mezzes or charms work in this game, charm rotations have to be on and off mobs. You can't charm the same mob repeatedly unless you wait. I think it's 15 seconds is the current time, a number that will be balanced, but you can't just automatically recharm an enemy the second it's over. Should I be able to charm a player the way that I can charm lock an NPC? I mean, these are questions we have to
Yeah.
ask because if I'm in
Yeah.
PvP as a bard and me and Check are running around and we found out that charm locking an enemy, I mean, what does that really do? That takes the enemy out of the fight. Not only are you dealing a ton of damage, whatever, almost whatever damage they're doing,
Mhm.
but they're not damaging you anymore, which means you're, I mean,
It's free game.
oh yeah,
It's like beating up a fuck. It's a dummy. So
it gets rough. So these are things that we have to absolutely consider. Are we going to allow players to charm other players? Absolutely. And Craven and Adora have put in some ideas about balancing, utilizing. I think it was ESO. I don't know if any other games had it, where you grow a natural resistance to these things. Um, the only things we want with that is obviously one, we don't want players becoming immune to all this stuff because it's still that class's functionality. So we have to find ways for that class to perform. Snares and roots and charms and mezzes, these are all things that affect on a grand scale, but also play into that class. So we have to find a way to keep them from being overpowered, but not nerfing them either. We don't want people not going into PvP because they're a bard, and we don't want people going into PvP specifically as DPS because, well, I can't charm anybody or mez anybody or any of that shit,
yeah.
so I might as well not do anything. So there's, when it comes to real balance, that's really where the question lies. What abilities are we going to allow to do what from PvE to PvP? As I
Oh, you're
talk your
reading.
ear
It got
off.
really quiet for a second.
No, I was drinking.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, he died.
The tank ones, I think really the tanks are the ones, right? Tank balance is always hard
Tank balance in PvP is the hardest thing in the world.
because
So
what do you do? What's a tank's job? To distract, right? To draw a threat, to
yeah.
taunt, to piss shit off. Games call them all different things: threat, aggro, hate. I mean, you can list out a different names, and we could sit here and talk about the difference between all of them. But the reality is, whatever
User joined
game
your
you're
channel.
using is going to utilize that system, that concept, that idea. So it comes down to, with a tank, what do we do with that threat that he's generating? Do we? Star Wars had a good idea. I really enjoyed it. Was if you threat if you threat lock the target or a player, if they were not attacking you, then they did like 30% less damage
Oh
or
yeah.
something like that. So there's a
Pretty
lot of
good.
options, and there's some really creative ways for us to go about it. But the tank either becomes the most hated, uh, really can only do a little bit of DPS kind of class out there, or you have to find a
It becomes
functional
constant.
way. Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't.
It's sort of gets stuck between one or the other just because of how the class makeup is. Because at the end of the day, they just take a lot of damage. So
Yep, and if players don't want to feed them damage, then how do you go about it? So it's that one's a tough one. That
yeah.
one is absolutely the tough one. So
See, it wasn't that bad.
all right, I was reading what Crave had said. Oh,
Oh.
I think he jumped in.
Yeah, he's in TeamSpeak.
Yeah, he jumped in.
Oh, he's gonna have to close Twitch. It hates him.
Oh, okay, is anybody else having a problem with Twitch? I'm
It
not.
doesn't load anything other than the chat box for me, but that's probably because BlizzCon and everything started today. They're doing the StarCraft 2 tournament right now.
Oh, I forgot about that. All right,
Yeah.
so we'll make
So,
that enjoyable.
which is being Twitch.
Speaking of that, that WoW movie trailer or Warcraft movie trailer, man. Oh,
Aren't,
that shit.
aren't you glad I showed that to you?
I
Oh,
don't
dude.
play World of Warcraft. For those of you watching, I've tried it. I really have. I've given it effort. It's not my game. I played Warcraft 2 and 3. I played like the tail end of 2 before 3 came out. I was deployed when the nerds in my unit, it was their acronym, Network Engineers Ready for Data Services. Before the nerds came in and showed it to me. Never heard of it before that. But I really enjoyed the Warcraft games and the movie. Man, I tell you what, if Blizzard can't do any more games, I'll be fine with them just making movies.
Just have them making movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, the
Oh, God.
Warcraft world. the original Warcraft world, not the shit they stole to make WoW. That shit, man, is a really badass world. And oddly enough, they're taking the same type of fantasy that Dungeons and Dragons has
Oh
had,
yeah.
and they're doing it on a much better level so far. What the hell, D&D? Get a bigger budget. I know y'all bastards
I
make a
say
lot of
that's
money.
the problem with D&D. Why they make such bad movies? They give it some of the worst budgets, and they're just like, we can just skimp out on this, skimp out on that. Let's have a dragon made of paper mache. No,
Yeah. It's Fireball? Just fling your hand, we'll add special effects later.
yeah,
We forgot to add special effects.
special effect. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I've watched every D&D movie, and I want them to be good, but halfway through, I'm just like, come on, guys, come on.
Uh, all right. So, balance. What else we got?
I say if we can go on about PVE and such, but you sort of did that. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's I just brought it up because it's relevant, but at the same time, it's hard to really have a decisive answer at the stage it's at. So
PvE balance. How we So, PvE balance. That one you would imagine is not really that tricky. I mean, a lot of people
I say you're
manage
fighting
to pull it
computers.
off. We have a very unique system that we're putting in place. Wicked has put it together, and it's actually really badass on quite a few levels. One, the way that we're going about itemization. That was myself put that together, but that that I feel will bring more to the table when it comes to itemization. Um, the other one is how Wicked has been able to make items last longer, have more
Oh yeah,
functionality, and at the same time not be overpowering towards tier one stuff if you're tier 20. Um, because we really wanted skill to be the ultimate factor in the game, but we still have to balance out abilities. And so when it comes to this balance, it gets really hard the more stuff you start adding in, right? So,
hmm
and we haven't even talked about alternate advancement that we're not planning to do until the first expansion if we can get it fully functional by then. But um, alternate advancements are going to change it. So we have to consider either planning ahead for those kind of things or understanding the type of plan that we're going to have when those things come out so that our world can expand. Because what happens is if you don't consider future evolutions of your game at all, then you wind up with a game that looks really nice when you first start, first expansion comes out, and you're overpowered beyond all belief.
yeah,
Or or you wind up with small percentage based um, nicks and dinks to your abilities that increase, I don't know, fire damage by
yeah.
0.5% or 0.1% or something like that. Like ESO wound up doing with their, what was that called? Champion system?
Oh yeah, the whatever the stupid star thing.
Right. Yes, that. Which that was probably the most disappointing thing for me that ESO
It
did
was
because
it
they
was awful.
specifically said it was going to be like the EQ1 alternate advancement system, and it wound up being nothing like it at all. It was more like Skyrim's system. Uh,
It's honestly felt exactly like
yeah,
Skyrim's system.
it was far closer to that than anything else. So when it when it comes to the AAs, I think for us it's going to be more about advancing the character and not the abilities.
Mhm.
I think balance it in that regard. When it comes to the abilities, we want to keep all the balance focused on the passives where we've got them going, the gear and the socket slots, what we were calling rune slots, that has been renamed, um,
Mhm.
and then functionality. So how players are using it, resource and all that stuff. So when a bard, a couple things we don't ever want to see is a class. Let's say, what do we got? Paladin, no. So you got two kind of healing type of tanks, right? Your
Mhm.
Doom Knight on some CC aspects can actually return some health, and then the Zealot. can return some health. Now, they're minor amounts. You look at both of them. The Zealot has 2 points in healing, which is really small. And the Doom Knight has 2 points in CC, which is really small. I mean, these numbers are not, when it comes to a
Overpowering.
full scale, right? 10 is, I mean, you're a powerhouse. 5 is your average. So a 2 is really well below average, right? It's
Hmm.
minor, but it's there. These are more on the backside for the soloing aspect and for a little bit of PvP, because you have to compete. If I'm to compete with a guy who's doing raw DPS, I have to either match his DPS or supplement what I don't match with healing or mitigation or mitigation of several kinds, right? So
Hmm.
mitigation through tanking or mitigation through charming, snaring by removing their capability to deal damage. You can change the way that the classes play in the fight. So when it comes back around to the PvP, it's really focused on, and this was actually heavily inspired by a question that both Crave and Adora had was, originally I had, for instance, healers were, defender, for instance, was, I think it was like a 6 and 4, 6 healing, 4 support, or maybe it was
Hmm.
7 and 3, 7 healing, 3 support, but there was no DPS at all, and the question was, well, how are they supposed to fight in PvP? And the answer was, well, they're all going to have access to a couple, role abilities that are going
Hmm.
to allow them to do a little bit of damage, but they're not going to do as much damage as a DPS class because they can heal themselves. DPS class can't heal themselves. They're Glass Canyon. So it's all about waiting out the use of damaging that DPS versus healing yourself, which we've seen in a lot of games. WoW
Yeah.
especially, healer classes always have the advantage. So I wanted to make sure we were giving them the notable capability to deal damage without making it something that was like any of these classes with 2 under DPS, they're not getting any class abilities that are dealing damage. That 2 is a very core fundamental number, and all it means is they'll find that in their the role type abilities for the primary
Hmm.
resource. So where a
Okay.
class ability would deal damage and have additional effects on it, the role type abilities only, it's does 100 damage. That's it for the role type ability. And that same ability, while it reads 100 for the assassin, will only read 20 for the bard, or whatever the
Yeah.
damage gap needs to be for the bard to wait it out. But it's going to read different for each class that's going to utilize it. So PVE rating isn't everything. It's
Yeah.
important, highly important, but it's not everything. What do raiders do when they're done? What do non-raiders do all day long? Um, I was saying we don't. What we didn't want to see was the Doom Knight and the Zealot going into a dungeon boss fight, whether it's open world or closed world, and absolutely owning a group boss mob. Now, if they've got the skill and the gear to support their capability to do so, they they may be able to pull it off. There's nothing out there saying that they won't be able to pull it off. It's not going to happen often. I mean, a tier 1 against or a tier 20 against like a tier 6 group boss fight. That's that. I mean, it's tier
Yeah.
6. That's more of a duo, 2 players. One person with a lot of skill can easily make up 2, sometimes even 3 players. Um, but going into a tier 20 character, let's say he's fully decked out, right? Best in slots everywhere. Well, not how best in slots working, but the best possible gear he can go up against that particular boss, in all slots, and they go after a tier 15, the last tier before raids. That is a full 6 player group. That player should not be able to beat that boss. I know some people here want to go into like tier 12 raids and whatnot and beat those raids up. Good luck. Have fun. It's on
Say,
you.
yeah. Have fun with it. No, it's that I think idea is because of people that played RPGs for too long, like single player RPGs, and like I want to try an MMO, or people that played WoW and go, I'm level 100. Let's go back and beat the level 70 raids in like 2 hits.
Yeah,
Like that's just
right.
boring.
and a lot of that's possible because you wind up with new stats coming out, or gears being the stat
Yeah.
on the gear between level 90 and level 91 is increased by like 300 on a basic piece of gear. Um, and that inflation continues along that same scale for 10 levels, and all of a sudden you're you know
You're at the health of the raid boss.
right, you're
Shit like that.
200% more powerful than you were when you were raiding, and you haven't even started raiding yet. With our system, none of that shit will ever happen. It's not how our system functions. Our system is based on, I mean, your player. A lot of people are expecting their health to increase, by 200-300 points every time they level up. That's not happening. We're talking about classic, classic EQ1 style health growths, right? I think per level there was like, was it 50 health or something like that, or an increase on
It was
health
pretty low. Yeah.
based on strength or something. I don't remember what it was, but your health increase was based on either a set number or one of your stats, and that was all you got out of that. And then our gear, you can add some of these elements to it, but it's not going to be massive. You're not going to see 5,000 health on a piece of gear. The difference between a tank and a non-tank isn't going to be thousands and thousands of health. It's going to be the mitigation, and then maybe a couple hundred health, but mostly that mitigation. So we're going back to the more core numbers. The the difference between doing 50k DPS and 15 DPS and still winning a boss fight, because you don't need 50k. Games that
Yeah.
can't
You
balance,
don't need to add a shit ton of zeros to make yourself feel strong.
yeah, games that are trying to properly explain how the system works like to inflate these numbers because it allows players to see this more clearly. The issue is once you start inflating on that level, you start inflating on astronomical levels. It just becomes an okay concept to just inflate, and that's what you see. EQ2 is currently testing. When I was playing EQ2, I quit the patch before the Beast Lords came out, so this was a couple years ago. But I think we were almost at the final raid boss. We're like number 12 guild on the server, and it wasn't bad. We weren't top competitors or anything, but we were one or two fights away from the final boss fight for that expansion. And when we started beta testing and then jumped into the live launch, the dropped gear was better than any of the raid gear. Just the dropped gear, not even the
Yeah.
quest gear, was better than any of the raid gear. And it was, I mean, you do all that damn hard work, and for what? To be
Yeah.
outdone, to be insulted
It's
by stat
extremely
margins?
demoralizing.
Yeah. So we're staying away from that shit. I know that there's going to be people that want to see these badass numbers and shit like that. Look, I'm a huge football fan. I'm of the belief that offense may put asses in the seat, but defense wins the games. And we've done the numbers. We don't need 5 million people subscribing to this game to be a successful game. That's not how this game works, and we're well aware of that. So, um, our accounting numbers are all complete, are all done. We've got our entire budget lined out, and we're looking at roughly 50,000 players. And I know that there's well more than 50,000 players
Yeah.
out there that are going to love the game that we are putting together. So, well more than
We'll be
50,000
fine.
players.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
So when
that's
the
good.
kids come along crying and screaming that they don't have big numbers, I'm going to remind them, we did not make this game for you. We made this game for the people that want a game to play for 5, 10 years. I mean, look at Eve. Eve's not a big casual fest, and that
Nope.
motherfucker's been around for a long, and it's
Well,
probably the most
there
popular
was people
classic
just
game.
talking about it. It has less than like there's some days where it has less than like 50,000 logins. Like that's tiny in comparison to what people scream by MMOs, but it's fucking amazing.
Right. It doesn't take that much. People don't realize 22,000 subs pays for all of Eve's staff plus some. 22,000 subs pays everybody over at Eve's organization. Everybody. 22,000 subs. They don't need 50,000. They don't need it. That's double what they need on the books to go about what they're trying to do. People think you have to have hundreds of thousands of subs or a few
People
million
sadly
subs.
think you need millions because of what's happened. So
Yep. And if you have an extremely massive budget to build a game,
Oh
you
yeah.
you don't need millions to survive. You need millions to recoup that cost because you went out and you spent
Like,
frivolously.
well, that was like a massive problem with Star Wars. They spent way too much money and didn't get enough, because they expected to get millions. Was like Star Wars' biggest issue,
The thing
and it just never
is,
happened.
they would have had they waited
Oh yeah,
6 months and
yeah.
finished released a finished product, and then just been patient. They would have. But, and this is why we ultimately chose not to get in bed with a publisher or a venture capitalist, there has to be an immediate return on investment. There's no longevity in that return on investment. You can't last forever. And it's not that they want a game to die out and move on to the next one. They just want it's safer to see that money come back as fast as
Yeah.
possible. I get the business model. I fully understand how it works. I'm a fucking business accountant. I can do international accounting like it's nothing. I don't have a problem understanding the system. The problem is that system does not work for the type of games I want to play, for the type of games I am in love with, the type of games that really a lot of gamers are absolutely in love with. What brought this industry into the light is what we're after. So our budget,
Yeah.
top side, and I've told people this, is 20 million. Top side, 20 million. And that's, I mean, our information release is only a quarter way through. I don't even think it's a full quarter way through. And you can
No, it's
see
not
there's
even a
already
quarter
a
way
ton of
through.
stuff going in this game. Our game's massive. It's huge. But we're not spending millions and millions of dollars on big names to come in and do voice acting. Yeah, we got a voice acting team. They're budgeted in. They're getting paid a salary. They're going to be here so that we can have continuous content, continuous updates going out. We're not paying $100,000 artists to come and do some paintings for us or stuff like that. We're paying full staff individuals who are creating on massive levels who are in house. These don't cost us exponential amount. We don't have a budget that we can't figure out that's unpredictable that we have to go to the best of the best because we have to show that we have the best product out there. That's not our market. That's not our marketing plan at all. Our marketing plan is to be brutally honest, is to be the gamer running the business. So that's that's a benefit we have. We don't cost millions and millions and millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to create a game. We literally cost a tenth or less of what these AAA studios are doing. So,
Yeah. Eh,
which gives us a lot more leeway in subs.
yeah.
But still, they don't need. I mean, ESO at one point in time had 700,000 subs. 700,000 subs. Do the math on that shit, man. Times 15. So,
Too many numbers. Hold on. I'm getting my calculator. While you rant. Nah, I don't know. Hold on. 700,000. That's my
what is
clock.
what I'm looking at 1.26 billion dollars a year,
Yeah, I say it's close. It's over a billion. I know that a year.
and you're telling me they couldn't recoup their costs. Now, I understand that's gross income, all right?
Yes.
But 1.26 billion minus taxes, which if they're like all of the corporations in the country, they're probably hiding away from the taxes anyway. But let's assume they're not. So 40% tax on all that shit, right? Um, you're still looking at 600 million plus. 600 million plus after all expenses and taxes. There's no way you can't cover for the cost of that game. It's not fucking possible. You're
Yeah,
not
there's no
convincing
way.
me. Why that game ever went to an more open market, a buy to play style, and felt they had to lie about so many things is beyond me. It's absolutely beyond me. I would absolutely boast about having 700 million subs. If this game had
700,000.
thank you, 700,000 subs, holy shit, man. We're gonna create shit for the fans every motherfucking
Yeah.
week, every motherfucking month. We're gonna do what WoW's doing now that they should have done a long ass time ago and start talking about movies. We're gonna
Big
work on
kick-ass
new
movies and
technologies.
cinematics and
We're gonna
yeah.
be, I mean, we're gonna be finding ways to support other companies that are trying to do the same shit that have a sound product. I mean, we're not we're not going to be sitting on the money like it's something we can carry into the damn afterlife. I'm not Egyptian. I don't know about you, but I'm trying to do something right now. Anyway, sorry. That's that's all.
No, it's all true.
That's all
So,
daydreams and fantasies. But you know, it's.
yeah.
I'm just making a point. We don't need to have 700,000 subs to be a successful game. It's success is about about being able to live. I'm a successful human being. I'm not filthy rich. I have a fair amount of money, but it's not, we're not talking about
If
millions
you
and millions of
enjoy
dollars
life, why
here.
does it matter? So,
Exactly.
like, I don't have shit for money. I'm still happy every day. So,
Happiest I've ever been was when I was in the Marine Corps overseas. While everything was tax free, we still weren't
yeah,
making shit for damn money, but and the chance for death was pretty damn high. But we had a
yeah, no,
blast. It
that's it.
was it was life that I enjoyed living at that time. That I probably still enjoy living at this time. But it's neither here nor there. All right, so um, Check and I wanted to talk about some. Did you have any more questions about balance
No,
as I went
I
off
pretty much covered it.
on a rant?
We went
Okay.
way off on topic, and if I did, I lost him. So,
We wanted to talk about with Kickstarter coming up, and essentially crowdfunding coming up from here on after that. Um, I wanted to put it out there, the whole crowdfunding rewards type thing, right? So I don't know if I'll pull this screen up for people. I don't know if I want to show this yet
I
because
wouldn't, especially since there's a shit ton of typos in it. That's what I was looking through as well.
is that really?
But yeah,
Yeah, there is.
yeah, there's a crap ton of them.
Well, nobody said Wicked was good at typing it up. Okay,
I'm
so
shitty at grammar, so
yeah, there. Wow. Now that you said that, I'm looking at it and I see them
there
all.
is a
But
ton.
so it's it's really it's hard to give examples, but I'm always, and I'll say this shit a million times. People can choose not to believe me until the day I die, and I'll choose to prove you wrong. I don't really give a shit. That's my life. I grew up as a white boy with red hair, freckle face, scrawny as shit, in an all black and Mexican town. Nobody thought I could fight. I had to prove it every damn day of my life. That it was just my life. So I'm used to proving people wrong. Um, so when I say that I'm absolutely interested in what the fuck you guys give a shit about, what gamers care about, um, it's absolutely important to me. So when it comes to the crowdfunding, when it comes to Kickstarter, Patreon, I always like to see what people want to see for these rewards because there's the basic
There's
generic
so many
reward
choices. So
system, but there's so much out there that can be put on these things, and I feel like the basic tier for rewards is really marketed towards random people, just kind of an average. This
yeah,
is what the 6 out of 10
this is
people
what
would
average
prefer.
Joe person wants.
Right. But what's the reality here? What are we always talking about here? We're not building a game for the average Joe. We're building
No,
a game for a very specific group of individuals, a group of people, not really individuals, are we? So it's for me, it's more about knowing what the hell you guys want out of these tiers. There's a lot we can offer. There's a lot that we can provide, especially the further into this project we get. Um, but there's a lot of stuff that we would feel strange about just throwing in if people don't express a desire for it. An
yeah,
example would be a lot of companies out there, they'll sell. So right now I'm talking about publishers with a lot of money. They'll sell access to betas and alphas.
oh yeah,
I always feel like that's just, I don't know, that feels wrong to me.
that
Even though
feels
I did it
dirty.
for a year, almost a year with ESO, though they lied about it. Um, for for us, if it became something where players absolutely wanted to have access to that through this,
Mhm.
then it's something that we would absolutely consider throwing up there. I would have to see the the evidence that the majority wants to see that,
Yeah,
and even then it wouldn't be access to, it would be more like priority access to. So at that point in time, there would be two tiers of priority. One would be you paid
people
into the
don't like the
priority
term, but whitelisting.
whitelisting.
So,
Is that the
but
opposite of
wait,
blacklisting?
oh
Whitelist
my
is the
god, the
man.
whitelist is the approved list to where when you get in first.
Okay,
If they let anyone in the game, they look for your name.
well, people gonna have to get over that term because that's essentially one of the ways that it would come about. We could probably find really creative ways to go about putting
I
that
see.
in, but
I know it's just people just hate it because of streamers, but that's a whole nother conversation. So
well, fuck streamers. Anybody who streams is a douchebag. Wait a minute.
rip
Shit.
everybody.
Yeah, I stream here
Yeah,
and there. I mean, we're kind of streaming right now. I'm
we're
just
kind of.
kidding. I'm fully aware that we're streaming right now, people. Please don't. Uh, some jokes you just can't tell because people
Yep.
won't laugh at them. I feel
Yep.
like that was one of them. All right. So is
Just edit it out.
I'm not good at that
The
shit.
internet.
I'm
Neither
really
am
not.
I. So we're fucked.
Oh yeah, there you go. So we're boned. All right. So if you know how to edit even remotely, please fill out our volunteer form, which is located down below.
Oh God.
Like that, I remember that.
I'm waiting
Also,
for them to take this away from us.
I, how you take it away from the CEO? Who's going to take it away from it? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. Probably Adora. She'd do it.
She would absolutely. She would find a way to hack my machine,
And
and
she would find a way. So
she would hack my machine. She'd probably hack my home router and shut it down during these time periods. So in the event that I don't show up for a stream, it's because Adora hacked me.
it's Adora did it. She's
Yep.
not even here.
Adora did it. That's all right. She's listening to Crave's computer. He's watching this.
Oh yeah, good
So
point.
unfortunately for her, I mean him, her, them, they're together.
Damn.
Them, maybe not. Hi. All right. I love messing with her.
Back on topic.
Also, we do plan on having different types of rewards for Kickstarter and Patreon. Um, I don't think it's. I know the marketing says put all your best stuff on Kickstarter to get that big bulk of money flying first. But there were some things we were talking about that I don't really care. They don't really feel like they belong on Kickstarter, like the reserving your player name or guild name. That's
Yeah.
something for me that's really more beneficial for a Patreon. Um, the
Especially to
longevity
have
of it.
access at it at all time. Like people
Right.
find out your game at different periods.
Right, exactly. So there are some things for me that just make more sense to be there as opposed to the Kickstarter. So, um, I think that's really it on that topic. I can't
Yeah.
really think of anything else. Man, I tell you, I get so distracted when I start talking about the industry and
I know.
maybe we
The
should
world
just
as it goes round.
maybe we'll just make a stream dedicated to what we're doing differently and why. I feel like that would be like 3 different streams though.
Yeah,
That's
I'm not doing that all at once.
no, that would take too long. Oh. Anyways, all right. So the contest winners, because of
On my
reasons.
list.
God, I'm glad I don't watch porn on this machine. Could you imagine me popping up my Google window and porn showing up there on a stream?
uh,
I'm not lying and trying to say I don't. Any guy
no.
that's like that. Okay.
And this is why we don't stream from my computer.
So 90% of men admit that they masturbate in the shower, and the other 10% said they whistle. You know what song they whistle, check?
Oh God, no! Please tell.
Me either, motherfucker. I'm too busy.
Oh. uh,
No, you don't like it. All right.
no,
So
I'm
the
trying to ignore it.
the as you can see here, it used to be a really more brutal answer than that. The 3 winners. First place came. I think I'm supposed to read this backward. I don't really care. First place came Sid Kane with his key position and Rock Palace access. Second place was Bucky Cat, despite of Kuzan's
Kuzan's petitioning.
right
I don't know.
to vote for him,
Cheerleaders.
and Kuzan somehow, I don't even know how
I
this managed.
still want to know who it is.
They're never gonna tell. Never gonna, because you want to know. Check. They're never gonna tell. So I feel like there's a way we can actually find out.
There should be a way. It's on the website. But
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if I asked Tin to find out for me, he could dig it up. I could probably just dig it up if I looked into it a little bit, but I don't care enough. So as I said before, the 3 contest winners. Congratulations, Kuzan for first place. I'm just kidding, just kidding. Um, I wish I could say that,
I
but I
I
can't.
just want him to come on the stream. Or the
Maybe
podcast.
we'll just invite Kuzan to the stream
Just invite him anyway.
just because he's trying everything he can not to win a raid competition.
Not to win.
So
Yeah.
so you seem decently humble. We'll rip that out of you. So check Will if nothing else. He's
Yep.
great at ripping things, especially paper.
Confused. I was confused on where this was going.
I was going with Langoliers. Where the fuck were you going?
I don't know.
He had a big head when he came out.
Oh God.
Uh,
Sorry, Mom.
too many jokes this game. All right, we got to move on. All right, if anybody's got any questions, please ask. Cause holy shit. All right, no, we're not gonna.
Nope.
I gotta.
Not doing that today.
Oh, all right. So my therapist tells me I gotta think to move on from that. It's not working. So this is video evidence that not all things in therapy work out. So in closing, thank you for showing up and listening to us lose our minds slowly on the podcast.
Yep.
Soon we'll be able to do a video walkthrough and a few other things. We are planning on having our developers stream their creation process and artists stream some creation process.
It'll start getting a lot more exciting.
Right now, it's all the boring stuff, the yickety yak, laying them doesn't shut the fuck up kind of stuff. So soon that will be more updated to show you guys what's really going on in the Sacrament world. First thing I got to do is get my lead developer not lead developer, but my world creator a better computer because his is.
You know, when my computer is better than yours, you're having a problem.
You
Gonna leave it at that.
You can use Skype. I don't think he can. I'm just kidding.
I don't.
I'm just kidding. Serious. I'm just playing. All right. So, if you want to
Toasters are
check
pretty
out
advanced nowadays.
if you want to check out, hell, laptops are pretty decent nowadays.
Yeah.
Don't go paying $300 for a laptop and think you're getting something decent. No, that's not what I mean by decent. So,
Nope.
600 to 800, you get a decent laptop. 1200, if you can't game on a $1,200 laptop, you're fucking spending
You
your
did
money
something
wrong.
wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, trust me, I got my kids lined up with $1,200 laptops for Christmas. Holy crap! I think their machines are better than mine is now. So, it's probably gonna upset me a little bit. I haven't decided yet. I'll let you know
It's
when
an
I find
excuse
out.
to get a better one.
Soon, yeah, soon. I got too much shit around the house to do though. So, soon. Not on the funds from Kickstarter because it's not even a necessity for anything
No.
I'm doing. So
Not even close.
I wish I could say, oh yeah, I'm developing stuff. I need a new computer, but that's not happening. Everybody knows Lanham is not developing shit.
That's a lie.
Lanham's handling the business side of the house, and he doesn't need a very good computer to do all that. So, I think the most difficult software I run is the accounting software. By a long shot, the most difficult, and that's a joke.
Pretty easy.
So yeah, it's not like we're a corporation that's been around for 30 years that has all kinds of subsidiaries or some shit. So, all right. So down below, any links you're looking for, we've got Facebook, Twitter, website, and the forums link down there. Register on the website. We are going to start testing the news feed. So I believe Corey said we had like 27 people signed up on a news feed. You will start receiving updates as we work on putting that together, get that ready for real stuff coming down the pipe. We will start doing the bi-weekly information releases through news feeds.
Yeah.
So expect that to start showing up. If you're not seeing it and you see me talking about it, send me a message on the forums, or if you can find my email, or if you're stalking me, just knock on my damn door and say hi. I mean,
Don't do that.
get out of the damn cold, you know. I don't really care. You're not stalking me for anything entertaining or threatening wise. So, and the volunteer forum, I have this isn't a request. This is something I'm putting out there. So our, what's the word I'm looking for? Experimental department that we're working on right now.
Oh.
I would
okay.
like to add another person to it. If you're a code writer and you want to experiment on some a new department in the game creation process. It's new to me at least. I keep looking for it and I can't find it anywhere. So if you're a code writer, if you could literally sit down and start programming for a video game, send me a message. Send me a message. Fill out the volunteer form. Doesn't really matter to me which way you want to go about it, but let me know because I believe in order to make this absolutely functional, we're going to need a programmer in that group because they understand the ins and outs of what the people reading the documentation are going to need to see, that kind of stuff. So send me a message if you got that. Social media is always a big thing. We've got a boss on it. I'm pretty sure he could use a little bit of help. Um, yeah, especially if you want to run Twitter. If you're down with Twitter, you want to run the Sacrament Twitter page.
I don't think anyone really wants Twitter. Sounds
Man,
like a punishment lately.
there are people out there who are insane with Twitter. I've known 3 or 4 people, and we almost had one on deck. I was really excited to have her on deck. She can do in 5 minutes what it takes me, I don't know, 5 hours to do. So having somebody who understands Twitter, understands the media marketing aspect for it is always a plus. So if you any of those criteria, hit up the volunteer form, send me a message. Really doesn't matter either way. And if you've got any other talents at all, doesn't matter if you're an accountant or if you're a book nerd that's good with legal work or you're a game developer, send a message, fill the volunteer form out. We'll get back to you as soon as we get the opportunity to place you somewhere and utilize you. So thank you again for coming and watching. Check, you got anything you want to say?
Nope, not really. I don't have any shameless plugs or anything either, so that's all
Sorry,
I got.
Check's mom's vagina. Big head.
We're going out on that. Let's go. Later, guys. Oh, it's all quiet now.
Uh, Stupid thing isn't going up. There we go.